So Candace Owens has been acting like the frog that's stuck in a pot of slow boiling water. And now she's finally gone too far, at least in my opinion. She's getting hammered right now by influencers, and yet she's still continuing to double down. I'm going to show you some evidence today explaining why I personally believe that she may be wrong about her allegations about Macron's wife. But I'm going to give everyone a chance to push back. Maybe I'm wrong about that, but I'm going to at least show the evidence. And then I'm also going to show you how, even if she's right, I think her decision to double down could end her career to an extent. And I'm also going to give potentially a funny, not so serious way that she might be able to make all her troubles disappear. So stick around. So that's a lot to claim that I'm going to do in one episode. So
big episode, man.
We get through the whole episode today. Yeah.
I'd be bringing receipts, man.
Yeah.
We'll see if we can get through it or not.
I'm just kidding.
So very quickly, if y'all don't follow us on Facebook, there's going to be a link in the description below this video. Go follow us, Filibusted on Facebook. Once we get to 100 followers, which doesn't seem that bad, but it's kind of hard to get there, then we can start streaming over there as well. And so let's jump in. Candace Owens continues to claim that Brigitte, if you want to be fancy, Macron is transgender, but her claims don't stop there. She's actually claimed a lot more than just that. She also claims that Trump called her back in February of this year and urged her to stop this madness. This came after a meeting between Macron and Trump at the White House. So people are starting to catch wind of what Candace is doing, and they're starting to call her out in the masses. So I'm not just talking about the normal influencers, which they're starting to get on board, but I'm talking about the TikTokers, you know, the Instagrammers, just the random folks out there who want to join in on the conversation. So I'm going to play a clip here, and then we're going to jump into what all Candace has claimed. Okay. So I'm going to set this up by playing this clip real quick.
Still ain't learned her lesson. This lady gonna lose everything.
I don't have that money.
Yeah.
I really don't.
And both JD Vance and Trump have not issued a statement.
Yes, Candace, you said you didn't want the case to get dismissed because you wanted to see what evidence they have. Now you're talking about they're trying to impoverish me, and you thought the president was going to step in and get involved in your personal defamation lawsuit with the president of France and his wife? If you really wanted to go in on Brigitte Macron, there's plenty you could have talked about, but you picked this angle, calling her a man, because you knew that that's a hot button conversation.
All right. You picked this angle, calling her man, because you knew that that was a hot button conversation. So they make a few points there. One of them is Candace doesn't have the money for this lawsuit, and she claims that herself, that they're going to impoverish me. Another one is she has called out to Trump and Vance saying, what are y'all doing? You're all supposed to step in. And people are pushing back and saying, like, hey, why do you expect the president to put his nose into your personal affair where you're getting somebody to sue you from another country? Like, why do you think you're important enough for that to take place? And yet he did, apparently, according to Candace, he did call her and say, hey, cut this out, you know, after Macron asked him to. So what all has Candace claimed? Let's look at this. She's claimed repeatedly that Brigitte Macron was born a man named, if I can say it right, Jean-Michel Trogneau, which is her brother's name, and later transitioned to identify as a woman. So essentially that she was, it's the brother, and that he took over her identity after she passed away. She also has alleged in that Brigitte has stolen the identity of her sibling. There's another thing that she's claimed. She's claimed that Brigitte was, as a teacher, she essentially statutorily, bad four-letter word, RAPE, or meaning sexually manipulated, a young Emmanuel Macron when he was her student. She's referred to Brigitte as a groomer and pedophile, apparently misstating Emmanuel's age as 14 at the time, which, crazy or not, to believe it or not, this is crazy. The Macrons have corrected her and said that he was 15, and that's actually the age of consent in France. So that is just insane to me. But the lawsuit also states that she has claimed that Emmanuel and Brigitte are blood relatives, suggesting incest as well. So here's what a lot of people have said, a lot of the influencers have said, because I've been combing through all of these different reaction videos. A lot of them have said, why didn't you just say, in my opinion? Why didn't you just allege this instead of, why didn't you use the word allegedly instead of saying this is how it is, which is the take that she's taken on most of these claims. She said, this is how it is. There's no question about it. And a lot of people have said there's a big difference between one or the other. One of them can get you sued. The other one Probably not. She's also alleged that they have abused their power, and I'm using the word alleged here, but she's said it outright. She's claimed that they've abused their power to conceal a scandalous past, including claims that Emmanuel Macron was selected as president through a CIA-operated program. And all of this has eventually led to a lawsuit. So our refrigerator has been beeping for months now because the door won't shut all the way. And I finally ordered the piece, after months of hearing the beeping, I finally ordered the piece to try to fix it. And essentially that's what's happening here. She's been going beep, 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 beep for months. And they finally said, all right, we got to do something. We're going to sue her. She's getting sued in a defamation lawsuit filed by the Macrons in Delaware Superior Court in July 2025. That's when they filed it. She's alleged that the Macrons are trying to impoverish her. We saw that in a clip right there. And then here's a wonderful advertisement from not a sponsor. They also hired a private investigator. Many people haven't seen this, to dig up dirt on Candace prior to filing the lawsuit. And here's what the lawsuit says. It says that she knowingly spread these false claims to promote her media platform, gain notoriety, and make money. And she continued these claims despite receiving a detailed retraction demand letter in December of 2024 that provided evidence, so the Macrons say, such as childhood photos, Brigitte's birth announcement, essentially trying to disprove her allegations. So here's what the lawsuit states, and then I'm going to let y'all chime in.
A clarifying question.
Yeah.
This evidence that the Macrons say, was that something that was like sent to Candace privately?
That's what they say. That's what
they said. The
Macrons say that they sent her a letter.
Hey, lady, here's some evidence, so you know that like what you're saying is not true. Okay, so that was a private thing that happened,
right? And
not
so
the
only way for them to win the way for them to win the lawsuit is to prove that she has essentially lied maliciously, that she stated these things knowing that she's lying, and by sending her that what they think is enough evidence to prove that she's wrong ahead of time, and then she continued to double down. That's what I think led to them thinking we could actually win this lawsuit if we sued her. So here's one thing the lawsuit states, just to give some context, and then I'm going to turn it over to y'all. It says every time the Macrons leave their home, they do so knowing that countless people have heard and many believe these vile fabrications. This is listed in the lawsuit. And it says Owens has dissected their appearance, their marriage, their friends, their family, and their personal history, twisting it all into a grotesque narrative designed to inflame and degrade. What are y'all's thoughts?
I'm very hung up on the incest thing. So I'm kind of putting I think this is an important point. I'm kind of like putting the transgender thing aside. And I know that, I know there's a lot of evidence out there. I'll state my bias. I'm not really convinced one way or another. I also haven't looked into it enough to be like, oh, definitely a man, definitely not. Could be. I don't know. I know that she's made that Candace Owens has made documentaries, and I know there's Doug showed us like that website full of evidence, pointing to this fact. But there are, like you said, there are other things that Candace Owens has been accusing them of, essentially like this whole web of like conspiratorial stuff, evil stuff that this family's been doing. And the transgender thing is just like there. The incest thing, I think, is probably the weirdest and biggest of that, because if they're blood relatives, that should be easily provable or disprovable. I mean, like, can somebody just pull up their family tree, and be like, no, we're not, or like, this is not my cousin, or like, this is my second cousin, so it's legal, even that's legal in the United States. It's your second cousin, like that is, I could see her being in trouble for any of those claims, and saying like this is incest when, if it's like so obviously clearly not. But I haven't looked at the evidence myself, but I would think that would just be like so easy for somebody to dig into, like pull up family history of both of the families and then they're like, are they related? Yes or no? I mean, that's crazy to me.
I thought there was a death of one of the children, and they tried to say that other child became that child. So that would make that angle, I think, a little more complicated. But I don't know. What kind of threw me off on this was when she said Trump called her. I don't doubt Trump has her number and has the ability to communicate directly with her. What I do doubt is that Trump would be doing the bidding of Emmanuel Macron, asking a personal favor to go call a person in the United States about some little drama that's like, are you kidding? Like, there is no way I would believe that Trump would do that on behalf of Emmanuel Macron. Like, if it,
Agreed,
I don't know. It just seems absolute wacko to me to think that.
The quote, if I'm remembering correctly, Candace quoted what Donald Trump said to her on the phone, and what he said was Macron brought up the subject in the meeting at the White House. The meeting was about, I think, Israel or something, something completely separate, and or maybe the tariffs. I don't know, but anyways, I can't remember which one. But then Trump said something like, according to Candace, something like, he was wondering, why on earth is Macron even bringing this up? What does this have to do with me at all? Like, that was his thought, his initial thought.
So in that case, it sounds like if he did, so this would be more believable, where he's just more of coming at like, what does this got to do with me? Versus asking her to stop on his behalf. That is what I don't believe happened. And maybe I misunderstood. But I thought that when I heard her talking about it, I thought she was saying that he was pleading with her to stop on his behalf or something like that. And like, maybe that's not maybe I misunderstood that, but yeah, either way, that I don't know. I think a lot of this is plausible based on what I've kind of heard. The problem is, I don't know why she would double down and make such a big deal about it, unless there's some other connection that gets unraveled because of this. And I could totally believe that the CIA was involved. I mean, that's how do you think Zelensky got involved and became the president of Ukraine? Like, that's kind of a defined thing that people like Clinton and people are on the record talking about that before he was even running for anything in Ukraine. So, I mean, the U.S. Intelligence agencies are absolutely involved in this. There's in setting up things around the world like that. And so, that doesn't seem like implausible to me either. But I don't know. It just seems a little wacky to make such a big deal out of this. Like, there's got to be something else. So,
can we get a little bit more clarity? I don't remember exactly either, but a little bit more clarity on what it was that supposedly President Trump said to Candace. I didn't quite catch that.
Yeah, let me read the quote. One thing he said was Macron, and this is from my memory. I'm paraphrasing, something like, I'm in a meeting with Macron, and suddenly he starts talking about this influencer, Candace Owens, and telling me that she's saying wacky things about him. And he was like, why does this concern me? This is weird, out of the blue. But these are two quotes that Candace actually said on the Tucker Carlson interview about what Trump said. So I'm going to read these two. One thing she said was, she said that Trump actually said, bring a little bit more clarity. I just lost my.
I have the clip here of what she said. Where he asked her to shut up, basically, is that the quote?
Well, let me read these. And then, if you have the quote, we can read more of it. But she, according to Candace, Trump said, she's old and this is really, really impacting her. So that's one of the points he made when he called her and asked her to stop talking about Brigitte. She's old and this is really, really impacting her. The other thing was, I saw her up close and she looks like a woman to me. And he was referencing the time when they had dinner at the top of the Eiffel Tower. But he said, I saw her up close and she looks like a woman to me. So whatever, it's like, if you look like a woman, you look like a woman. It's like, that doesn't prove anything, but
two things. I got two things on that. Number one, I don't know. I don't think that Candace would intentionally lie about Trump calling her. However, I don't think it would be that difficult unless she really, really can confirm, like she knows 100% for sure that it was Trump, because of the many different ways that you can fake stuff like that. So maybe she does have a way to confirm that. So that's one angle on this, is like,
you're saying that they got an AI Trump to call her?
Dude, you'd be surprised at what people can do. But unless she actually got Trump's personal phone number from Trump himself, and then that number called up on her phone and she's like, oh, Trump's calling, I better answer. You know what I mean? I don't know if she's on that kind of basis with him or not. If she is, good for her. If she's not, if she just got a phone call from an unknown number,
like an amazing troll.
That's an interesting theory.
And then the second thing
that is interesting.
The second thing is a little bit more complex, but I find it very, very difficult to believe that the president of the United States would take the time, assuming he did this, would take the time out of his extremely busy schedule to address something that was not important.
Well,
and what my other, I'll just get this last little thought out is,
I'll let you finish.
if that's the case, if he decided this was an important thing to do, there's a couple different reasons why this is an important thing to do. And I think that it's important to remember that President Trump himself years ago said that he had documents on Emmanuel Macron that proved that he had a weird sex life. There is an angle here. And that's actually something that Candace covers in her series, is that this is a thing, like his Mar-a-Lago resort or estate got raided. And part of it was because they were afraid of what sort of documentation Trump had on Macron. So this is an important thing for them. And so there's all I'm saying is there's something else going on. And if I understand the way Trump does things well enough, I understand it to be more of a 5D chess kind of thing. Trump doesn't need to tell Candace what he's doing, but he does need Candace to do something about this if this is the case. So could it be that Trump is like, hey, can you just back off and let me handle this, please? But I'm not going to admit to anything to you.
Here's
would-
what I think.
That's interesting.
This would be my
Speculation.
pushback on that.
Absolute speculation.
I don't think Trump would take the time because of Candace Owens. I think he would take the time because of Macron. That's my opinion. If a foreign leader and there's other things involved that you're wanting, there's deals you're wanting to make, you're wanting them to concede on something, and they ask a personal favor of you in a private meeting, and it's like, well, I'm gonna take 5 minutes out of my day and actually, do that favor for you, because obviously it's important to you. I don't know why,
but he's also not making very solid statement to you. She looks like a woman to me. That's not a solid statement.
But I would say that
like a woman.
Okay. Is it possible
you've got to remember that Trump is a lot older than Candace Owens, and he's in a generation where this kind of thing just didn't happen all the time. You know what I mean? Like, this was not normal 40 years ago. Like, and you know what I mean? Like, it was not normal for someone to say, I think that person's transgender. It's like,
well, like for me, I don't even mean to cut you off, Troy, if you were finishing your thought.
No, I'm done.
Well, so I think that, so I just watch this here, and the quote is, she says on the Tucker Carlson show that Macron personally flew, this is the quote, personally flew to DC and asked Trump to ask me to shut up. That is the quote. And so very clear. And so I just kind of think,
she's wrong about that.
Well, what do you mean? Well, that's the quote that I just heard.
Yeah, but she's wrong because he didn't go to DC for that. He was already there at the White House for a different
so
meeting.
that's more reason why we should really believe. So what I'm saying is, though, is if Trump did make a call, I think it's possible that there was a call and she perhaps embellished it or misrepresented it. I do think that's possible. That would be easy to disprove because I'm sure that
elaborate.
Yeah. And then the other thing would be, I really don't see Trump as the kind of world leader that would do a petty personal thing for someone like Emmanuel Macron. I think there's a lot other leverage that he would use in order to get the cooperation he wanted or that sort of thing. So I just find that terribly unbelievable, unless it's one of these 4 or 5D chess things where, because he's a media advantage. He is an absolute media mogul. Like, he understands the ripple effect of every single syllable that comes out of his mouth. And he knows that. Like, he knows what he's doing. He's used that to his advantage. And so he knows if he's having a call with her, she's going public with it. So if that's the case, then the question is, what is the there? What's the thing? What is it? And that's, kind of where we need to be looking. But I'm questioning whether that call happened. If it did happen, whether that was what was on the call. And if that was true, then I would say there's obviously something else going on that this benefits Trump somehow. Because I don't see him just doing a petty personal thing for someone like Emmanuel Macron.
He wouldn't do it unless it was a strategic maneuver.
That's an interesting perspective. I would push back a little bit and say, if she claimed that Trump called her and he never did, it'd be very easy for him to just say, I never did that. So I don't think she would get onto something like Tucker Carlson as big as that and claim that if it didn't happen at all.
Right. And I see the comments in the chat right now as people are saying the same thing. They're like, if that call really didn't happen, then Trump could easily turn around and sue Candace and say, like, hey, you're saying that I said something.
Yeah, but then you would also look at what would happen if he then speaks out about it unprovoked or unasked. Then now he's inserting himself into the middle of it unnecessarily. And so that's,
we're gonna. I've got a second clip I want to play here, and then in a little bit we're gonna get into some of the evidence that someone just presented yesterday that they're essentially trying to show that even Candace's documentary she did about Brigitte is actually not correct. So very interesting. So we're gonna at least look at that and see what they have to say. But yeah, before we do that, this episode is brought to you today by our sponsor, which is not a real sponsor, but it is Filibusted exclusive. So if y'all are not signed up for exclusive membership, you can get, and if you're enjoying conversations like this one, you can get access to exclusive conversations on both YouTube and Locals. You can go sign up right on the YouTube channel or go to filibustedshow.locals.com and get access. We do one exclusive conversation every week. So let's play this second clip here because not only are the influencers, speaking out against Candace Owens right now, and obviously some are defending her, some are not, but a lot of people are kind of hounding her. There's a lot of lawyers out there who have given their opinions, and we're going to look at a couple of those. One is in this clip, and then one I'm going to quote from X. But yeah, let's take a look at this other clip here and see what this woman has to say.
Still ain't learned her.
I'm going to break it down to you, and I'm also going to give you my educated opinion. Candace, you in danger, girl. In the original source, they did sue him. He appealed. I think it's going up to the next level. They call her basically a grifter and say, yeah, she didn't start off like this. They also call her desperate and basically say that she needed this story. She is added false imprisonment, identity theft, incest, murder, attempted murder, bribery, rape, extortion, blood libel, conspiracy theory kind of thrown in. Like, she would have to prove all of these things. She said that they have like killed witnesses and
yeah, so she has claimed that they've killed witnesses. She's claimed the incest thing. She's done the 4-letter word, that we're not going to say, a lot of different things. And so this lady is coming at it from the
even
legal
covering
perspective.
up the, like, if one of the children died and then the other one took their place, like that has to be a crime, like covering up the death of,
Yep, that
one of the kids, like that's
identity
on a level
theft. At
just
least
so
identity
beyond
theft.
Simply,
No.
this person's
Candace has gone
transgender.
so far as to say people started finding out about it, and they had them just unalived.
Right.
Like, that's how far she's gone. That's what she said. And so unless she has evidence to support all of these claims, here's what people are saying. Like, people like this woman here who she's watched the whole thing. She's read the entire lawsuit that they papers that they've served her. She's taken notes. She's done all the research, and she's come to the conclusion that Candace Owens is in hot water. And this lady at least has said there's no way she's going to win, right? From her legal professional perspective. There's another person I want to show real fast, and then I'm going to turn it back over to y'all. And this is actually, well, I'll just say it. This is Alex Jones' lawyer. So obviously Alex Jones, super controversial. He's been accused of being a grifter himself. This lawyer is accusing Candace Owens of being a grifter. Just take it, with a grain of salt. But this is Robert Barnes. He's the lawyer for Alex Jones. He's on X. He says, it's apparent that people defending real Candace think she will easily win the libel suit. They've not read the entire complaint. Owens told some of the dumbest obvious lies one can tell. She has 0% chance of winning in court. This is his legal perspective. And we've got to take into consideration, no matter who he is, that he has a degree and experience, being a lawyer. So he's got a legal perspective. When an ex-user asked him to explain what he meant by this, he said, "You're missing the 100 plus other lies she told. The suit is about alleging incest, 4-letter R word, forgery, fraud, impersonation, murder, bribery, not being the mother, his parents not being his parents, a bunch of other lies Candace told in the process about photos, articles, books, letters, and even lied about the retraction letter she received from the Macrons." So it's a long list of charges that are against her with this case. What are y'all's thoughts?
My initial pushback against this is I know that it's very difficult to win a defamation case in the United States. I know we talked about this before. If she was in France and they were suing her in France, she would probably definitely lose because it'd be entirely on her to prove that all the things that she was saying are true. It's much harder in France. In the United States, it's the other way around. The party who's suing her, so the Macrons, they have to absolutely prove that Candace Owens knew all the things that she was saying were lies.
That's not possible
Knew
either.
they were lies.
Yeah,
she knew she had the evidence that they were. She knew that what she was saying was bogus. They have to prove that, or mostly prove that. And
here's the thing.
So it's going to be difficult for them to do that because obviously she has she has done her homework. Like, she's made a whole
Yeah.
series on this. She has reasons why she's saying the things that she's saying. She has, and again, I'm not swayed either way, but I know she has evidence. I know she has
But here's
evidence
the
to back
thing,
up the
Reese.
things she's saying, and I'm not 100% convinced, but I haven't looked into it enough myself. But as far as the legal case goes, it'll be really tough for. I could see it potentially going. They could be like, okay, all this evidence is actually crap. It's not true. But Candace had reasons why she believed it was true, and it seemed true at the time when she saw it. So therefore, she's not libeling them. She's actually just saying what she thinks, and from these evidence to back it up, right? And so it's possible that she could still come out on top because of how the U.S. Justice system works.
But I think you're looking at it from the wrong perspective. They don't have to prove that she's lied maliciously about everything. They only have to prove that she's lied maliciously about one of these things.
Yes, but that's why
the
she's in
thing.
hot. That's why
That's
she's in
the
hot water.
difference.
Is because she
They
lied.
do not have to prove that she's libeled them about all these things.
No.
Just that she lied maliciously about one of these 100+ claims that she's made. And that's why it's not one claim. It's not about the transgender thing. It's about all the separate claims that she's made and that she's said are fact about these people. And I think, man, she's going to have a hard time disproving or proving herself innocent of all of those different things. So if they can just come up with evidence for one thing, maybe they're suing her for, I think it's like $250 million. They're probably not going to win a $250 million lawsuit, but they might win a $15 million lawsuit, which she cannot afford. You know what I mean? Like, they might win a $20 million lawsuit, which she can't afford, according to her. So that's where I'm saying I think she's in hot water, and I think that she's gone too far.
It's a good point, but
perspective.
I would hazard to say that you don't spend your own time and your own money on a series as long and as in depth as this one to not believe every single thing that you say, regardless of whether or not every single thing on there is true. I'm not trying to endorse that. I'm just saying, looking at Candace Owens, having watched part of the series, I'm still going through it, and having researched her, she seems like a person who 100% believes every single thing that she said. So I think that your point is a good one, but it might be a little bit more difficult to prove even one thing, the one thing, than you might think, because of how much she believes it.
This would be my pushback against that, and I'm glad you led into my next point.
Awesome.
If she 100% believes that of everything she said is true, and that she's not going to be able to be disproven, why did she ask Trump for help? Why did she call to Trump and say, "Why aren't you helping me?" Because what she said, I'll just give you all the quotes. She's last couple. I'll give you a little bit of context. She's essentially been calling Trump a chronic disappointment for months now. She's been criticizing him. She said she was embarrassed to have supported him in the past. She reminded everybody that Trump has already asked her to stop, and she found the demand insulting and refused to comply. And then leading all the way up to, if she knows that she's, that same question, if she knows that she's right, she knows she can prove she's right, why is she appealing to Trump for help? And why is she asking him to intervene? And why is she now mad at him for not intervening?
That's what makes me wonder if there's something she thinks that he knows something that he should be taking action on, or should have already done something with, or, you know, that sort of thing. That's sort of what that's the only way I could take that. But otherwise, she's just off a rocker at that point.
If I understand correctly, her angle on that is not necessarily so much as, I mean, she's calling Trump out, obviously, but it's not necessarily as much as that, as it is, this is a country where there's freedom of speech, regardless of the nuances of all of that. You do need to be held accountable for the things that you say, if they are, if they cause issues that go beyond freedom of speech barriers, but I think that that's what she was trying to do. She's saying, if I live in this country where there's freedom of speech, why are you not coming to my aid and saying I deserve freedom of speech? Now, the other part of that is, I do think that Candace Owens has a tendency to like every human ever, including me, not see the entire story, but present things as though she does see the entire story and then react based off of that. And so I think that she isn't really seeing all of it, but she is behaving as though she does, and that is creating a little bit of a problem for her. I think that's probably where the biggest way that she's going wrong is she just is she's reacting to things she doesn't fully understand.
Let me weigh in as someone who's been on YouTube since 2012 for like 14 years now, and even before that I was managing other people's YouTube channels. So I've helped to blow up a couple different YouTube channels, not including my own, from almost nothing, like 10,000 subscribers or so to millions of subscribers. And what can happen in the trap, and this is something I've had to recognize in my own, psyche and deal with and stay away from. But it's a temptation I know every single influencer faces. The trap is, what becomes the most important thing that I'm going to say, and I'm going to headline all this. The most important thing ends up not being the truth, but what gets results.
Yeah.
And I think that could be the trap. If she's actually become a grifter, like some of these people are saying, that could be the trap that pushed her over that edge. Is, I know this story is going to do so well. I know people are going to like it. It's got all the elements that are telling my influencer brain that this is going to rise to the top. And so we're going to go with it. And I can't see beyond that. So I think, if I'm not saying that she is doing that, I'm just saying if she's doing that, from personal experience, I could see how she got there, and just knowing the temptations of being in the influencer world. So what are y'all's thoughts on that? And what are your thoughts on, like, is she splitting the conservative culture? Is this actually going to split? How many conservatives do you think are following her versus not? And then after that, we're going to get into this evidence that someone has proposed that they claim that even what she's saying about Brigitte is wrong.
Here's my take, and I don't think she's splitting the culture. We could talk about the Israel thing on a different day. There's a few big things that are splitting the conservative culture right now. One of them is Israel, whether you're pro-Israel or neutral on Israel or against Israel. And so obviously Candace Owens talks a lot about Israel. So there's that. And the other one is probably the Epstein situation. Those are two of what you think is really going on there, and the Trump administration's response and handling of that so far. Those are the two big things that are splitting the conservative, side. Not this. I mean, I really, the Brigitte thing is honest. So this is why I lean towards a little bit that what you just said, Troy, about Candace Owens potentially could just know, oh, this story's going to explode. Like, she's betting her career on this. And this is what's weird to me. And this is why it feels kind of, again, I'm not saying this person's not transgender. They very well be transgender. Let's assume it's absolutely correct. This person is transgender and the family is real weird and they've done some weird and gross things, right? Here's the thing. It seems so unimportant. It seems so, like, in the big scam of things, it's not really. I don't understand why it's majorly important. And she's now betting her entire career on this. And even I've seen people being like, oh yeah, they're getting really upset. I said this before, like, she, she's over the target because of how upset they're getting over this. It's like, okay, well, one way to look at that is if someone's spreading lies about you or spreading something that you don't want them to know, whether it's lies or not, obviously you're going to get upset about that. But this is her being over the target. Like, what target? What if it's all true? Why does it matter? It's not like the Epstein case where
let me help you with that.
Actually would come from that. It's not like Israel, where it's like, okay, is Israel actually our greatest ally, or are they actually manipulating all this stuff behind the scenes? That would be important. This, if it turns out that Brigitte Macron is a guy, I'm like, this is the hill that she's gonna die on. It's
a pretty big hill, actually. Let me.
Yeah, but it's not just about transgender. Yeah,
there's more.
Yeah, Doug. Let's hear the other side of the story.
I would love to hear why this is important, because to me it's so unimportant.
Because it's actually about the international human trafficking ring at the heart of it. Because this is the whole Brigitte Macron is the door that opens up a much bigger story that is a hill worth dying on. And this hill is a crazy one. And it's one of those things that's generally just thrown out the window as conspiracy theory. But if she proves this true, if this goes through court and she actually can prove these upper layer things to be true, it means everything else is true. And then the whole thing starts crumbling down.
Or
And that is the hill that's worth dying on because of the dark things that are happening in the background. And so if she can prove that, then it is definitely a valuable thing to investigate. And I think that that also goes to show why they're so scared. If this is the case, why would they be so concerned about this independent journalist who's breaking the story open? You know what I mean? Like, who cares? Like, because to your point, like, well, yeah, why didn't they just say, like, whatever? She's like, just who cares what Candace Owens says about Brigitte Macron being a man, if it's really that simple? It's not that simple. Clearly, there's a lot more to it.
So, Doug, I would push back on that and say I 100% agree. If she proves that the top layer is true, then that breaks open a whole nother level of things to be investigated. But I would say that doesn't automatically prove that the rest is true.
Well, it could be the link.
It opens the door to those things being investigated to see if they're true or not.
Or part of that evidence is linked to something that is by just showing the evidence opens the door to this big ring or whatever it is. Like that could be literally the evidence that like for me, that is the only reason that it would make any sense for her to be doing this big of a thing, even if she does seem off a rocker or whatever it is. But you know,
I don't
think
on the sweater, you know, that metaphor where you tug the string on the bottom of the sweater and then eventually it just starts. That's if
but I think
it loose, she break that little string loose. The string is Brigitte Macron, and then whoop, here comes the rest.
Right. And I think that, you know, for me, though, that is kind of the thing that speaks the loud. I mean, I feel like I'm going back and forth, you know, on even when I think about this. But I think even that is what speaks the loudest is the fact that they have gotten that kind of a response. So I don't know. I think I used to think that was kind of a frivolous lawsuit. It's going to be a joke. It's not going to go anywhere. It's going to be dropped. But then I heard more, that guy that you mentioned, that attorney, he was on Dr. Drew as well, talking about kind of, he represented the Covington boys as well. And he was involved in a couple other cases that were pretty well known. And I don't know, it's a legit opinion. But as far as the conservative party, is it splitting? Like, when have we ever had full unity in the conservative party? Like never. Like, it's not like the Democrats where if you don't vote in line, you're out. Like, and you're going to be primary. That's it. Like, that has never happened. And so for me, I think that, there's some division on some of these issues, but maybe they're just magnifying divisions that were kind of already there. Like, I've got my own issues with the Republican Party that I didn't have a few years ago because they've changed, you know, so that's a problem. But that I'm not here. I'm not having different kinds of conversations with people where they're, you know, I think it's just maybe highlighting divisions that were either there or they're making a bigger deal out of smoke that's maybe not quite that big of a deal. But I don't know. I just think, you know, we've never really had full unity on the conservative side and anything. I mean, really, I mean, we do to some degree, like on pro-life and that sort of stuff. But yeah, I
think that's a good point. I think around election year, it feels a little bit more like you're all unified because one side just all voted in one direction mostly, and then the other side mostly voted the other direction. You know, it's like the two-party line there. So I think that is kind of like what creates that feeling sometimes. But let me bring this. I'm going to close with showing the evidence that this person has proposed. Okay, so this is Coleman Hughes on YouTube. You can go watch the video for yourself. It's only 5.5 minutes long and pretty quick, fast video. So he released this video titled "Candace Owens is wrong about Brigitte Macron." He says she does not bring any evidence other than what could be described as, and he brings 3 pieces of hardcore evidence that she brings, and he tries to debunk them. The first one is sibling resemblance. Okay. And so she's got this photo in her video. Here's Jean Michel, however you say his name, Trogna over here. Here's Brigitte down here. And then up here is an older sibling. And what he does is he focuses in on the older sibling. He says she's looking at the resemblance between him and her, not her, but him and the now older, you know, Brigitte, right? Saying they look exactly the same, even more so than this little girl down here. But the problem is, if you look at the older sister, what he's saying is these siblings look insanely familiar to each other. They look insanely, they resemble each other a lot. And actually this one up here, you know, looks just as much like the now Brigitte as he does. And I've actually seen the same thing happen even with my kids, where it's like one of my kids at a certain age will look like one of the older ones, but then they get a little older and now they look like the other one, you know? So just because, And
They
so
change over the years.
they change. Yeah, exactly. They change over the years. Or at one point they'll look like me, and then later they'll look like my wife Leslie. You know, and so it's like the different genes come out at different times. So that's what he does. He's like, hey, these siblings are they. So it's not unlikely that he's saying that the young Brigitte would look a lot like the older sister potentially later, who looks a lot like the now Brigitte who we all know. Okay, so not know personally, but you know what I mean.
Right, yeah.
The next bit of evidence that he says out of her main, then this is what he's claiming is her main 3 points in the entire series that she keeps going back to. The next one is the face recognition technology that she has used. And she's essentially what she does is she looks at this technology and she says it has a higher percentage that the boy is who we know as Brigitte now than the young girl named Brigitte, right? And she's saying this fake face, she really talks up the face recognition technology, says it can't be wrong. And then what he does is he literally pulls up the same.
I was going to say you need to do it on somebody that you know for sure to see.
He pulls up the same exact technology and he puts a picture of himself as an adult and himself as a kid, and it says it is the same person, probability low.
Wow.
And so it shows that the technology is not as good as she claims that it is. And so
I think
that's probably her weakest argument, to be honest. When I
think it's a terrible argument. I didn't even take that
recognition
seriously.
by far is the weakest argument because
Like you just disproved it with your family examples. My son, he's 4.5 now. When he was born, it looked a lot like me, and now it's not as much. I mean, he's more like his mom too, and me. It's like it's not. Yeah, it just changes. Like
so here's the third bit of evidence he points to is it is the existence of the brother as an adult. And so what essentially what he's saying is they have video and photo evidence of this man here being at important family Macron functions or even some of the public functions. And now Candace Owens admits to that, and she points him out in the video and then in her series. But she essentially claims that's not him. It's somebody else. That's what she's claiming. But he, for all accounts and purposes, he's quote unquote unidentified. And yet the people that say they know who he is, they say they know him in person, claim that this is him. Right.
Right.
And so his pushback against her evidence is that she just has no proof that that's not him. And the testimonies of the witnesses say that is him. Now, obviously, she would say they're all lying. This is a big cover up, but this, to me, this is what I landed on after watching this short video with all this pushback is Proverbs 18:17. It says, the first to plead his case seems right until another comes and examines him. So this would be my question. Is this a case of her having the floor for a long time with this series and bringing all the evidence, and it looks really good until somebody else comes along and starts to debunk it and ask questions. And it's like, is it possible that she may be completely wrong? I'm not saying she is. I'm just saying, is it possible? What do y'all think?
Well, it's certainly possible, but it would probably also take another 9 hours of somebody else going through and combing through each and every single point that she has made in her own documentary in order to balance it properly.
Right.
Yeah, I would say this little bit here, it's good pointing out, a couple things or whatever, but this is not enough proof to be like her claims are wrong. I know, and again, I haven't watched the whole series. I've only seen some of her claims, but I know she has more evidence than this. And even on our last episode, Doug pulled up that website that had a heck of a lot more evidence getting into like the family history and stuff than just. Also, I knew I just threw this out here earlier, but I would not be surprised if at the very least Macron was actually 14 years old when they met, because that's such an easy thing to
and they just fudge the number.
If the age of consent is 15. I just wanted to throw this out.
Well,
there.
especially back in that day too.
15 the first time that it's like if the age of consent is 15, it'd be so easy for them just to lie about that, right? So I wish that's a possibility. I'm not saying that's true. Don't sue me,
back
Macrons.
then.
I'm not claiming that really happened. I'm
and just to be clear,
could lie.
That only makes a difference legally. That only makes a difference in a legal standpoint. It makes no difference from a actual like morality, ethics,
right?
Thing.
But I'm saying it only makes a difference. Obviously, the whole thing was immoral. I mean, she was married and had kids, and it's thinking that she's a woman. The official narrative is she's a woman. She was married and had kids, and then started a relationship with her teenage.
Either way,
student.
it's very wrong.
Yeah.
That's
Right.
what you're
At
saying.
the-
Either way, it's very
Either
wrong.
way,
It's
depending on
interesting
legally,
that they
gender,
point
that
that
it's
out.
completely wrong.
Just
Yeah,
depends on how
legally,
many
that-
reasons it's wrong. You know, is it 1 or 2 or 3? You know,
Right.
like,
Yeah. It's
there's-
just like how many levels are we going here? But at the very least, it was really perverse and wrong
Yeah.
to start with. no matter
Legally, they
what
would
it
have a
was.
strong reason to want to cover that up. You know, whether
Mhm.
whether it's the other allegations are true or not, they would definitely want to cover that up and not have that come to light.
Right.
Mhm.
So here's my question. I'm going to end this and with a funny question. Back in the day, it used to be you would fake the insanity plea, right? Well, I didn't know what I was saying. I was temporarily insane. You know, like that was how you got out of stuff like this.
Mhm.
Nowadays, what if? And I think Doug actually mentioned this earlier, and I was like, I almost wanted to spoil the ending. It's stupid. What I'm about to say is really dumb. But I'm going to end on a funny note. What if she just claimed that wasn't me? That was AI Candace the whole time.
I knew that's where you were going with it. AI. You know what's sad about that is going to become an issue at some point, and
It's
we're going to have
already
to have
an
some sort
issue.
of
People,
thorough technology that can prove whether or not
there's
those are AI.
Here's
'cause-
my other thought,
yeah.
though. That's kind of a joke, but this is actually this is also a joke, but a little bit less of a joke. What if she just not is she's not she? What if she realizes I'm going to lose? It's not going to work. I'm going to lose a bunch of money. What if she's not able to swallow her pride enough to actually apologize? What if she told her team, like, "Hey, I'm not going to be able to do this. I'm going to feel like an idiot. Can y'all just get a Candace AI to, in tears, apologize for me so that I don't have to? You know, like just make it easy on yourself."
This-
Wow, that'd be pretty bad.
This sounds far out, but a new scam that's happening is they are taking voices and they're actually making fake things with children, calling their parents that they need
Oh,
help
yeah.
and send money. Like that's a real thing, and people send the money or people do
Yeah.
whatever. So like this
That
is it's funny, but it's a real. I mean,
I've
they
seen
could
that.
do that. They
So
could do
real. And
that.
there's gonna be court cases where it's like this person said this thing. Here they are on video, and it's it's AI, or they're
And
gonna claim it's AI.
I mean, I've noticed. I've been watching like these videos, these deep fakes, and a year ago it was kind of a joke, but like now, like the mouth and how the mouth moves is so much closer to reality than like
Mhm.
if some of them. You heard there was an Instagram account that had a model or whatever, and then you find out that it was not even a real person; it was an AI the entire time. Did you hear about that? There were it got like millions of followers, and it was a
I
fake.
have heard
It was,
about that. I've heard stories like that.
I have one more serious thought about this whole thing.
Yeah.
I'll just throw
Let's
this out there.
do concluding thoughts about Candace Owens, and then we can wrap it up.
Concluding thoughts about Candace Owens. What something I think might possibly be happening here. I can't prove this, obviously, but something I think that might be happening here. So we brought up Alex Jones earlier. Everyone should know something that happened to Alex Jones. So Alex Jones, he's an interesting figure. I think Alex Jones is kind of like Candace Owens. I see him kind of in the same vein. He's one of those people that I think can bring a lot of attention to some important issues, and he's really against big overall corruption. However, I also see him as an individual kind of similar to Candace Owens, who doesn't always necessarily get everything right and is really, I mean, they're kind of griftery. Like they can be super dramatic and be like, this is the most important thing. And even though I don't have any real evidence for it, this is what I'm going to put forth. So Alex Jones got himself in trouble with the Sandy Hook allegations, claiming that was completely fake, completely staged, that the parents of the children who passed away from the Sandy Hook shooting, that they were actors and all that kind of stuff. So he toted that around for so long. Well, he got sued, right? And he lost so much money, and he was out of commission for a while. I think he survived, somehow he stayed afloat, but they took everything from him from that situation. I personally believe Alex Jones was completely off base. I think he was completely wrong. I do not think that was, how I do think he's been correct about other things, but I think he was wrong there. Well, it turns out there's actually there's some interviews, and there's people that was, I'm trying to remember, was it the FBI or the CIA? Some of the U.S. intelligence community encouraged the family members to go after Alex Jones and to sue him into oblivion. And they actually, because they wanted to shut Alex Jones up, they didn't like him, right? So there's people in the deep state or in the intelligence community that don't like some of these figures, right? And they literally, this is on tape. You can go look this up. There's one of the agents that was literally on tape talking to them. They're like, yeah, he was like, we got Alex Jones, we got him. And they're like, how did we get him? It's like, oh, well, we couldn't do anything legally, But, you know, if it's a civil, because we couldn't be like, it's a criminal case, but it's a civil case. So we really heavily encourage the parents to go after them, right? And they got them, right? So I think this could possibly be a similar situation. Anybody, as far as like, why is it becoming a big deal? Why is the Macron suing them? Anybody that doesn't like Candace Owens, if there's anybody in the intelligence community that doesn't like Candace Owens, if there's anybody in the global stage that doesn't like Candace Owens because of the things that she says and does, they could see this as like, she has gotten out of her wheelhouse. She's making claims that she's not going to be able to back up in court, and we can nail her on this. And now they're pushing to nail her on it. Potentially could be like that same Alex Jones situation. That's just my thought.
So yeah, my final thoughts on this are that this is either just a career destroying thing that makes no sense. She's off her rocker, or this is like one of the most insanely exposing things that would just change everything about how we see politics in the world. Like Doug, like you're kind of saying, it's the thread that unravels everything. And so I think some of this other stuff about the fracturing of the MAGA base and all that kind of stuff, maybe there's a little bit of that there. I think that's not really happening as seriously as people are saying, but I think it's going to be interesting to see kind of how this goes and whether this is going to expose the biggest trafficking ring run by the government and the intelligence agencies, or if it's going to be just the end of her career because she couldn't let go of something and instead she doubled down on it. So we will see.
Yeah, I think that number one, it's always important to say, because people it's too easy to misconstrue a person's position on things. I don't agree with everything that Candace does or says. I do think she's out of line on some things, but on this particular front, I think she is on to something. And I think that it will be very interesting to see what comes of it. Your point, Reese, about that example, that's a good example of how it could actually blow up in her face. That probably would be a similar way. If it were to, that'd be the way. But if not, then we're looking at a pretty explosive large piece of evidence. And I think that Candace is smart enough to know that she better not keep hammering down unless she's really got something. So we'll see if that's true or not. But that's the impression that I get from her. Whether or not she makes the best decisions is a different conversation. But I do think she is smart enough to know the difference between real evidence and fake evidence. So I don't know. We'll see. It'll be interesting.
Yeah, I think my final thought is I think she's in hot water with the number of claims that she's made. I think it's very likely, in my opinion, obviously I'm not a lawyer, that they'll be able to prove at least one of those things. And maybe it's not going to be a $250 million case, but maybe, something will, maybe she will lose out. But whether Coleman Hughes is correct or not, I would personally lean towards him being correct, but I don't have all the information. And I would say, I'm just going to have to wait and see whether he's right or not, whether she's right or not. We're going to have to wait and see how that plays out. So y'all don't forget, go follow us on Facebook if you haven't, and we're going to start live streaming there pretty soon. Filibusted, the link is below in the description of this video. And if you haven't signed up for our exclusive and you like these kind of conversations, go consider signing up for exclusive for a few months and see if you like the extra exclusive episode that we release once a week. And that's on YouTube. And also you can sign up on filibustedshow.locals.com to get access to the exclusive episodes as well. So that's the show for today, and we will see y'all next time.